Hello everybody and welcome to another board game discussion video. Today's topic is all about taking one for the team. This is probably something that you've heard in a lot of different contexts where the concept is that you have one person essentially sacrifice themselves or otherwise get injured in order to help the greater good. This is a concept that we see at least a little bit in board games, but it really depends on both the board game group who's playing as well as the board game itself as to the mechanics and whether or not it's allowable. So I thought it was kind of an interesting thing to talk about because it really goes into the psychology of the players themselves. And effectively, I wanted to go over three major things. First off, I wanted to talk about what it means in a board game context to take one for the team. Secondly, looking at a couple of examples of competitive and cooperative play where it can happen. And last but certainly not least, just give some of my thoughts on the idea at the very end. So that said, of course, I want to hear what your thoughts are first and foremost. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this a mechanic that you think should exist at all in board games? Is it something that you think should be in all cooperative games and no competitive games? Do you find it to be unfair in competitive games when people take advantage of it? All of that kind of stuff. Please let me know anything and everything in the comments below. So that said, let's dive right into what it means in a board game context to take one for the team. So this means that your character, your player, your avatar, whatever it is, or you as a player yourself are going to take a move that either harms you directly or helps somebody else directly. So this can basically mean one of two things. It puts you in harm's way instead of somebody else, or you don't take a ridiculously advantageous spot in order to make sure that somebody else is allowed to get it, or something along those lines. Now, more often than not, this is going to be associated with cooperative games because it's like, okay, I'm going to go over here and distract these guys while you can go over here and get the objective done, or whatever it happens to be. And potentially your character is going to die, and then eventually maybe you will be out of the game completely, and that's unfortunate. In competitive games, it's a little bit different though, and so we'll get right into that now. So as far as cooperative games, there's a couple of examples I wanted to give. First and foremost is one of my favorite games, Shadows over Camelot. One of the things about this game is the first thing you do on your turn is progress evil. One of the ways that you can do that is you can literally take away some of your life force in order to say evil has been progressed. That is taking one for the team. You can go down all the way down to 1 hit point, and it's very dangerous because it's really easy to get killed in this game. And the thing is though that that's really what all players should do at the beginning of this game, is start taking life hits. You should all be sacrificing yourself for the good of the rest of the party, or in this case the good of the rest of the Knights of the Round Table and all of that good stuff. That said, we do see it in several other cooperative games. For example, things like Zombicide or other scenario-driven games where you have very specifically AI'd opponents that will run and attack in a specific way. And you can essentially dive yourself into the fray, and so long as you're in a scenario that doesn't end when a character dies, then potentially you can distract all of the bad guys for long enough that your comrades will be able to finish everything up and all will be well, happy, and good. And so we can also see this in other team-based games or distinctly team-based games, such as things like Shadowhunters, The Resistance, Bang, and all of those sorts of things, where you end up basically saying like, I'm the such and such, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I know that I have my comrades, and you basically give like the little like the nod of, yes, I'm going to do this and it will help us in the end type of thing. And that sort of thing is always fun, especially when you have hidden teams in things like Ghost Hunters and Avalon and Resistance and stuff like that, because once you know somebody is on your side, then it becomes a little bit different of a dynamic since you're not necessarily supposed to know. So it's kind of cool in that particular context. But that said, it's a very odd thing to see in competitive games. And most often this is seen when you're trying to help newer players, or you're just trying to be a jerk. To give you a great example of that, I have Celestia. In this game, the idea is that you're in an airship going from city to city, and the whole point is the captain has to make sure that you can move on to the next place. Anybody else on the ship is able to jump off and be like, forget this, I'm out. I don't think the captain has what it takes. The captain might be nice and be like, guys, you gotta bail out. Captain goes down with the ship, so I'm not going to get anything, but you guys have a chance to get something, so please go ahead and do it. That's a really nice gesture, right? Until the captain actually is able to move on and then is the only one to get a really high level card or something along those lines. That's a jerk move, not taking one for the team. And so it's an interesting dynamic in competitive games because a lot more times you'll see it in things like worker placements and stuff like that when you're teaching new players, because you can help them and say, this is probably the thing that you want to do, especially because you're going before me, and based off of what I've got in front of me, I definitely want to go there, so if nothing else, you're going to block me from wanting to go there. And in that context, I think it's great because taking one for the team in a competitive sense serves as a teaching moment. Taking one for the team in a competitive sense where you end up doing a king-making thing, like in Settlers of Catan, is one of the worst things you can possibly do, though, because we see that all the time where it's like, I will trade you one of whatever, or you give me one of something and I'll give you my entire hand of cards, or some stupid crap like that. I'm sorry. But either way, you know, when things like that happens, it's very, very aggravating for the rest of the players, because it essentially means that now you have a sort of pseudo team that you're going against where one person has resigned to losing in order to help somebody else. That sort of taking one for the team sucks because it's not actually a team. So F that mess. But that said, moving into my final thoughts on all of it, I think that it's a good thing to do if you are playing competitive or cooperative games. So when you have things like Dead of Winter and you've got the crossroads cards that can potentially harm or hurt everybody, or you need to sacrifice some of your resources to make sure things happen. Everybody has to put the cards on the table in order to avoid a big event happening. Even in Game of Thrones, when you guys have to team up against the wildlings, you got to make sure that you put up or shut up. You really have to make sure that you do that, and the problem is when people don't, it ends up hurting everybody instead, and so that's never a good thing. But at the same time, even if it's a cooperative game, it may not necessarily be the best idea to take one for the team. It may not be a good idea for you to take that hit of damage, or to go and sacrifice yourself against that monster, or not get the new upgraded armor or whatever it is and instead give it to your comrade. Sometimes it's okay to be selfish in a cooperative game, and it's kind of an odd balance to strike, and this is where the psychology comes into play of how you deal with the rest of your players. Are these people that you've known for years and years and years, and you play with them every single week and all that kind of stuff? Then they'll probably understand the way you play and how you play and why you play. If you are teaching a new person how to play a game, then you don't want to do the whole Celestia, go ahead and jump ship, we're not going to make it, we're going down, I can't do it, I can't help us, no! Oh wait, never mind, here the cards are. Hi, moving forward. You don't want to do that with new people because it's just unfair. And a lot of times they'll be looking to you for advice, and you want to give good advice for it. And that's where your personal competitiveness as a player comes into play. Are you so competitive that you would be willing to do that to a newbie and essentially take the win against somebody who has never seen or played a game? Or are you playing the game to try and help them and make them get better and all of that sort of thing, so that when you play more and more and more, it becomes more fun for you since you're more experienced? It's an odd sort of thing to balance, but is especially important, in my opinion, with worker placement games where you have way too many options and it becomes exceedingly overwhelming for new players. But that said, it's more than enough of talking about stuff from me. It's an interesting thing though, taking one for the team, even if it's a pseudo team. Going back to that, kingmakers suck. Don't be a kingmaker. Don't be that guy. Nobody likes that guy. And they don't get invited back to game night. They don't get any beverages or snacks or anything else, because that is just a stupid thing to do and everybody hates it. But anyway, taking one for the team can be very good, both competitively and cooperatively, but does it ruin the spirit of the game? Is it part of the spirit of the game? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. As always, it's more than enough rambling for me. Of course, if you haven't done so already, please take a look at my various social media pages where you can interact with myself and my channel in a bunch of really fun ways. And remember, we're beating COVID, we're beating it back. We are very slowly winning with this vaccine rollout. So I'm super excited about it, but please, everybody stay safe, stay inside as much as you can, and hope that you guys are all doing well and being well with everything that's going on. But regardless, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.